Hey up and welcome to another episode of Last Cast. Today we're doing quite a short session just after a visit to Monkton Pools, and we're on the Nidd today. Just looking for a couple of hours fishing, to be honest. Just keeping things dead simple. So I've never fished this river before, let alone really seen it. Initial impressions, lovely river, looks incredibly shallow. So all I've done setup wise, I've just got a 0.5 gram Drennan stick float, strung out number 10s. I've kept those really tight towards the bottom end of the rig, because I know there's plenty of bleak in these kind of rivers, so I want to get some level of bait down. 010 fluorocarbon hook length, 20 hook and a single maggot. I'm just going to basically see what I can catch now, so go for the first run through of the session. Rod and reel wise, I've gone for a 15-foot map match tech, lovely and light, so I can get plenty of control of this bait. What I'm going to be looking to do is really slow that bait down over the shallows, and then it drops off a bit further down the peg by the looks of things. We're into first fish there. That's where the small fish will be holding up, so not a bad first cast on the Nidd. I've had a bite and a fish on. So that was just as I was holding back really hard there. Bait wise, just got reds and whites. So we're not here for long, so not got many. Not looking to feed a load of bait. As you can see, I'm just flicking that out mid-river, just trying to find some depth. The river's incredibly low by the looks of things. Another small fish there. And just hopefully we'll get into a few fish. Yeah, there's plenty of small fish down there. Amazing how shallow it is. Obviously we're in the middle of summer now and there's clearly not a lot of water going through. But I'm quite surprised just how little there is. Just untangle that. See plenty of bankside vegetation as well, so ideally I think if I revisit I'll come back in the waders and try and get out into the middle of the river, to be honest, to make life a little bit easier. Slip another maggot on there. And hopefully I'm just going to be able to work that float around the peg and just see what's down there. So when the river's this low and clear, you really need to start looking for as much depth as you can find. See, I'm holding that hook bait back really hard against the flow. I've not had much of a plumb up, just to have a quick look around the peg. There's a small fish now. It's a tiny little dace, that one. Absolutely microscopic. But lovely little fish, that. So I was expecting to catch a few bleak, but it's always nice when you're not catching those and you're catching a few dace. Again, they're clearly fish that are thriving in the faster water here. I think there's a bit more depth a bit closer to me, so I'm just going to run it down through there. I'm going to get some bait fed well downstream of me. Another bite there, another small fish. Could well be that there's quite a few small dace down there, so I may have to step up to double maggot just to try and get through to some better quality fish, but if I keep a bit bait going in, you never know. But I'm getting a bite as soon as it gets into that deeper water. Seems that there's sort of a ridge in the middle of the river there, and it just deepens off after that. Another one there, it's just dropped off. So I'm just using a size 20 silverfish maggot, so a barbless pattern hook. It's just doubled the maggot over the hook point there, because I'm not expecting to catch massive fish today, so I'm not too worried about losing the odd one or two. But initial impressions of the river, it's a lovely river. As I say, it'll do well with a little bit more water in it. I think certainly it's somewhere that I'd have to bring a platform and some waders to really make the most of the pegs. There's plenty of overhanging vegetation and whatnot, so certainly towards the bottom end of this run, towards that far bank there, it looks a lot deeper as well. I'd expect there to be a few chub down there. And plenty of bites towards the bottom end of the run. Certainly a few fish down there anyway. I think what I may have to do is try and cast even further downstream and hopefully get through them, but we'll see, you never know. With this I've got options in terms of fishing close to features or just trying to up the feed rate a little bit. As you can see, I'm just controlling that float when it gets towards where I've been getting bites. Just holding that back a little bit as well. So I'm not quite sure of the depth down there. Just had a bite right at the bottom end of the run. I suspect it's probably no more than 2 feet deep. So obviously in those conditions the fish are going to be a bit more spooky. The bait's actually fine that time. I think the river certainly could do with another foot or two on it, just to make life easier. But still, you can't complain when you're getting bites anyway. Again, the problem is without waders is I'm not able to quite see right down to the extreme of the peg. So I'm somewhat limited by where I can fish. I'm just running that float as far down as I possibly can. Seems to be plenty of overhanging trees at the bottom end of the run. See small fish rising all over the river as well. Some rising in just probably no more than 10 inches of water in front of me as well. Suspect they're probably bleak and small dace, similar to the ones we've been catching so far. As I say, it's a nice change from fishing the commercial that we were on earlier. Bit of a contrast in terms of where you're fishing and the styles that you use. That felt like a slightly better dace that time. It's nice just to have a bit of variation in your fishing. There's a slightly better one. I'm just going to take it carefully because I just want to make sure I land some of these fish. It's a nice little dace, that. Bit of a contrast to the size of fish that we were catching earlier. It's probably 4 times the size. Lovely little fish. Certainly a good sized fish to be catching. Say if you had a keep net and you were looking to build a weight of fish, those are a good size to be catching, 2 or 3 ounces a piece. If you can build a shoal of those up, you can certainly put a couple of pound in the net quite quickly. But a really nice little fish to catch. So feed wise, I'm putting in fair size handfuls of maggot, maybe 10 or 20 each run through, maybe twice a run through. Another bite there. Just to try and get a fairly instant response. I know if there's a few bleak about, I'm not worried about overfeeding too much. Obviously as it draws towards evening, you've always got a bit more of a chance of a bonus fish as well, so it's worth just putting a few more in just to see. Yeah, again the maggots come back bust. Let's try a single white this run through, just something a bit different. I suspect this might be a good area of the river to fish with worm or hemp and castor. Obviously to try and get through the smaller fish that'll be in the peg. There's one there, it's just fallen off. So there's no shortage of fish in front of me today. As I said earlier, for a new stretch of river to me, I can't really complain with getting a bite every run through. Certainly does look like one of those pegs where there'll be one or two chub lurking in the far bank trees. So you never know, as it gets a bit darker, might draw one or two out. There's another dace there, it's just come off. Suspect with the clear water they're probably just nipping at the maggots very lightly, so that's why I'm not connecting with everything. But it looks like double maggots the way to go. Just to give you a few more attempts at the further reaches of the peg. Say if a bleak or a small dace decides to take one of the maggots or bust one, I've always got a bit more bait on there just in case. It's an absolutely lovely peg for the stick float, this. You can see it's just one of those where you've got to really try and work the float because of the rocky nature of the riverbed. Varies quite a lot in terms of depth, so it's just one of those where I've got to work the float and try and get around various snags in the river. And just running that towards the bottom end of the swim to see if there's anything down there. So it's not easy to see it over the near side vegetation, but at least it gives me an idea of next time what I'll bring with me in terms of the kit. Obviously it's useful to see these rivers when they're low in summer like this, because then you get an idea of what it's going to be like in winter when it's up, so you can work out where the slacks will be and where you'll be able to catch fish. So it's always worth having a go on the river when it's really low like this. So when you do visit it when it's up, at least you've seen what areas of the riverbed you'll be able to put your bait in. And a few bites right at the top end of the swim as well. There's another one. Looks like another small dace, this. Yeah, and it is. Taking the bait down a little bit, but another lovely little dace, absolutely pristine fish. Just get the disgorger to get the hook out. There you go, another dace. Just keep my disgorger to hand. So again, double maggots, what seems to be catching these fish. But it's interesting that I'm catching a few more dace further up the peg. I'm getting bleak further down it, which I didn't expect. I thought the bleak would be the first ones on the feed. Another one now. It's an even smaller dace that time. So it shows just how many fish are in here. Suspect if the river's up and coloured, it may be one of those pegs where you can really fish quite aggressive stick float tactics and fish large hooks like 16s and 14s and bunches of maggots. If there's that many dace down there, sometimes you can catch them on really quite heavy gear. There's certainly no shortage of fish in the peg at all. Seems there's definitely an area there where the dace want to hold up. That's a slightly better one this time. Yeah, not massive, but be a few ounces. Might just be able to swing him. It's a lovely fat dace, that one. Probably the biggest fish of the session so far, that. I expect many of these have never seen a hook before, but lovely little dace. See, great fun when you're fishing really light stick float gear like this. Fishing incredibly soft rod and really light lines and small hooks. Really can provide some good sport. Obviously all the while I'm still learning about the river as I go along. That's really the idea behind this session, is just to try and suss a few things out for any future visits. So that one's actually made it towards the bottom end of the run this time. So I'm not entirely confident in how the bait's fishing down there because I haven't plumbed it up or found the depths. It's running through fairly clean, so I might be 1 or 2 feet off bottom. Just a bite right under the tree there. Another small fish, but shows that they're absolutely all over the river, these. See what I've got this time. Another one of those bleak. And quite interesting that the dace are a lot further up the run, as opposed to where I expected there to be a few bigger fish towards the bottom end near those trees. So with that in mind, it may be an idea, if I come back to this peg in future, to use a bait dropper and really try and target the dace right at the top end of a run and feed more aggressively. And the float I've chosen for this peg's almost perfect. Using a Drennan stick allows me to get a bit more lead down the line. I could use a lignum stick and fish more on the drop, but I think because of the pacey nature of the peg, having a bit more shot down the lines really helping in terms of presentation and getting that bait down. Just a bite right at the bottom end of the run again. And all I've got shotting wise is just 11 number 10s just spaced out at fairly even intervals, but tightening up as I get towards the float because of the compact nature of the rig in terms of the depth that we're having to fish. It seems to be working quite well. I'm just going to try double white this time. In terms of the length of the hook length, I've had to go for quite a short one of about 6 inches, just to make sure that I'm able to get a dropper near that hook length, or near the bait, so I'm able to register the bites. Again, it's something that just needs to be proportional in terms of the rig and the depth that we're fishing. And that little size 20 is just perfect for just getting a few bites as we're hoping for today. Right, so what I've done there is I've just slipped a plummet on and had a quick plumb up down where it looks to be deeper. Obviously the water's looking a bit darker down there. I've actually found that's why I'm not getting so many bites there, is it's probably about an extra foot deeper than where I was fishing. And that's just on the near side of this run. So I'm going to target that now for the next half hour or so, just see what I can catch. So what I'm actually going to have to do is flick the rig just downstream of me. I expected to catch a few more fish sort of mid-river, but as it turns out, as is often the case with places like this, the best area of the river can be right under your feet. Immediately getting a bite there. So that area of the peg is just right under that near side vegetation there, and there seems to be like a deep hole almost where some rocks have been eroded away, and there's like an undercut. I think that will hold a few fish down there. So I may have disturbed it a bit using a plummet, but so it's not like it's match conditions or anything like that where I'm really looking to catch a lot of fish. I'm just trying to suss out the peg a little bit. So what I'm going to do there is feed actually a bit nearer to me. See if I can get any better quality fish in that slightly deeper water. Turns out as it goes around a bit of a corner there, it's equally the same depth down there, so that's why I wasn't getting as many bites down there, was because I was way off bottom. So it shows the importance of plumbing up on a peg on a river. You've got to try and find the deeper areas and work out, try and think where those fish will actually be. Straight away I'm getting bites there as well. So now I've caught those dace in the shallow water. I'm going to have a look and see if I can get something a little bit bigger in that deeper water and just see what's down there. You never know, I might encounter roach or perch. This will be another small dace that time. There's plenty of them down there. I've had, as you've seen, dace of various sizes as well. Nothing massive, but shows that they're clearly breeding well in this section of river. So that always bodes well for the future. So again, that's what I'm going to target, is that deeper hole in the river, just towards my near side. You never know, might encounter some better fish like roach or perch down there as well, possibly even the odd chub. Getting bites all the way down the run. There's another one now. Again, only small fish, but still nice to catch on a short session. Looks like another tiny dace. Plenty of these. So no bigger than minnows, but obviously they bode well for the future, and certainly if there's any predators in here, they'll have a good go at them as well. So you never know, this might be a peg where there's a few big perch or even pike. So I think what I'll do is just plug away at this, see what I can catch. I think it certainly looks like the most favourable section of the peg to fish. I think as well this peg would do well with, say, a link ledger. Might well be a useful presentation here. Can often fool bigger fish using it, so it's a very useful thing to have with you, is a small bomb rod. You can just fish, say, sections of worm or even just a single maggot just to see what's down there, but that stationary presentation can often fool a bigger fish. So that'd certainly be another option that I'd be looking at. Feels like a slightly better dace, this one. So yeah, as I was saying, a link ledger would be certainly something I'd look to employ. Actually, that is a very large gudgeon. Look at that for a lovely fish. Incredible markings on him. I thought that was going to be a better dace, but that's third species of fish today. It's a lovely gudgeon, that. Stunning fish to catch. Again, also quite useful in catching those is it gives you an idea that where you're fishing in the peg, so it shows that my bait is just about tripping bottom. Just try and nick the hook out of him. He's hooked himself quite well. So there we go, lovely river gudgeon. Absolutely stunning markings on him. Again, that just fell to double maggot. So it shows there's a good variety of fish down there. Quite surprised to catch gudgeon in quite a fast bit of river actually. So there might just be say a divot or a small hole in that bit of river where they're able to hold up. Because normally you don't tend to catch them in pacier bits of water. Obviously I'm not particularly surprised to catch loads of dace here. It's absolutely perfect peg for them, but I wouldn't have thought I'd have got so many, well, I wouldn't have thought I'd have got gudgeon, to be honest. Again, getting bites straight away. Getting a few more towards the bottom end of the run now, and I suspect that is because the fish are starting to spook a little bit. Obviously bankside disturbance and the clear nature of the river, they're going to just push further away. So I'm going to try a bit nearer to the bank on this next run through, near where that undercut is. Because it's quite a severe drop off. And that might hold a few fish. So again, that's the beauty of using a 15-foot rod for this style of fishing, is gives me loads of options in terms of I can reach effectively a third to halfway across the river in places here, but equally I can gain a lot of control in that little area of the river just on my near side. There's plenty of vortices down there, so I know there's a snag. It's a small fish this time. See what this one is. No, it's a minnow, another species. There's no shortage of variety in these pegs. So obviously that sort of hole in the riverbank there, where the undercut is, there must just be a shoal of minnows down there. Again, ideal prey fish for perch and things like that, and chub. So I won't be surprised if there's a few decent specimens of those about in this area. Yeah, just gently running that float through that area. And plenty of little bites and indications. Missing quite a few as well. I suspect those are generally small fish. Yep, just missed another one there. There's a slightly better one. Could well be a dace, but I'm not entirely sure after that last gudgeon. Never really know what you're going to catch on rivers like this. Yeah, and that's another dace that time. Lovely little fish. So I think time's pressing on now. I think we'll have the last few runs through and see if we can get a fish to end on. Never know, as light fades might encounter a slightly better fish. So the bank's quite high here, so we're going to lose the light pretty quickly in this peg. So if we can encounter a slightly better dace or whatever it might be, I think we'll probably call it the last fish. Again, bites absolutely all over the peg. Right, so we're starting to lose the light now as the session's drawing to an end. As I say, we've only been down here for barely an hour today, so I think we'll probably end on this last fish I've just took now. Another chunky little dace this time. So a stunning fish to end on. We'll get him unhooked and popped back. As I say, I've really enjoyed the session today on the Nidd. We've only been here for an hour, if that. But I've certainly learnt a lot about the river and something to think about for a future episode and a future session. Definitely bring the stick float gear down here and probably bring a platform and plenty of bait and really try and attack it. So you can expect an episode from me fishing a peg somewhere near this anyway in the future. As I say, you can't really knock a bit of fishing like that. I've come down here with a pint of maggots, not really spent a lot of time, and already had 5 species of fish, so it's not bad going, nothing massive, but again, a nice little short session on the way home. So as I say, that concludes it from us today on Last Cast. Expect a future episode on the Nidd, but stay tuned for plenty more different styles of fishing. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you on that next episode.